And what we learned is, and here it comes and goes back to the process side, we learned also we need visibility, we need to have transparency in every single step of the processes.
Welcome to Process Pioneers, the show that takes a deep dive into the minds of decision makers, key influencers, and process experts who are pioneering the world of everything process.
Welcome to the next episode of Process Pioneers. My name is Daniel Rayner. I'm the host of Process Pioneers. And in each of these episodes, I get the absolute privilege of sitting down with the brightest minds in the world when it comes to digital transformation and business process management. And today I have the absolute privilege of sitting down with Dr. Marcell Vollmer. Now, Dr. Marcell, he is a partner and director at Boston Consulting Group, has a wealth of experience in the whole digital transformation space. You just have to go on his LinkedIn to see his depth of experience there. But Dr. Marcell, thanks for joining me.
Daniel, many thanks for having me. Just call me Marcell, and it's a great privilege being here today.
Amazing. So one thing our audience loves to find out from our guests as we're getting started with the conversation is when were you first introduced to the whole topic of process management? Did you stumble across it, or was it something that you learnt or studied? And then take us on a bit of a journey leading up to what you're doing today.
Awesome. Daniel, that's a great question. And basically, it was for me like a jump in cold water, I have to say. After I finished my studies, I got an amazing offer from DHL to work on the centralization of the customer services units within Germany. This was a starting point. And basically, the first thing what I learned, oh, wow, setting up something new, you need to have processes. Processes is really what keeps everything going. Fortunately, there were some experience already, but different flavors, as you can imagine. A distributed customer service runs totally different than a centralized one. And exactly this was my job. This was my first touch point, basically, as leader for the customer service centralization, and it moved on. I made my career and had an amazing opportunity until the integration of DHL worldwide. This was basically prior to the acquisition, to work in the post-merger integration team after the acquisition of Deutsche Post WorldNet. An exciting journey, and I moved on continuing my career by joining SAP. And the reason I got hired as SAP was setting up their shared services. So going from customer service now to a broader responsibility, which was a great opportunity. And also shared services, it's all about the processes you need to define, you need to optimize, automate, and digital transformation, definitely a key word in that. I know, Daniel, we will come to that a little bit later. And I moved on when I was lead for the large post-merger integrations SAP was doing, followed by my role as Chief Procurement Officer. And here I got very deep, based on my experience, to restructure, transform procurement, to make it fit to generate more value for SAP. It's around 6 billion, close to 6 billion on the procurement spend. Really very exciting journey, the longest job I ever had. And I followed this job by moving to the United States, to Atlanta, Georgia. The reason for that was that SAP acquired Ariba, Fieldglass, and Concur, the market leaders in the source-to-pay field. And with that, I had the pleasure introducing that within SAP, being part of the acquisition integration team, but then later on also doing the integration on the operational side as COO. And I shared my experience I have gained with the clients of SAP by becoming the Chief Digital Officer. There was 1 year in between. I'm now at BCG, as you mentioned. I was also 1 year at Celonis. Celonis is a market leader for process analytics, process mining. And I could serve as Chief Innovation Officer, really looking from a totally different angle on how to really automate and optimize processes to bring them to the next level. And this is exactly the experience also I can beautifully bring into my role as partner at BCG, helping clients defining their digital transformation strategy and executing on that. So sorry, a little bit longer, but you see that's the long-lasting career I did over the last 3 decades. This is where my gray hair comes from, by all these different roles, but absolutely exciting being here and continuing focusing on the process topic in all fields with the main focus of procurement as part of supply chain. Thank you.
That's amazing. And it sounds like you would have a very diverse and broad experience working with organizations of all shapes and sizes. I'd imagine there would be some organizations that are very old, have been around for decades, if not centuries, like old banks or things like that, government departments, and then maybe some newer organizations. But I guess despite which organization, what would you say are the biggest drivers of adopting this process-centric approach to running an organization?
I think if you really want to succeed in a digital transformation, I've learned, and the experience with the clients I had the pleasure to work with in my different steps during my career, confirming that you should start with a vision. Why do you want to do a transformation? It might be a centralization for customer service, might be setting up a shared service center. It might be also transforming business function like procurement, but can be any other function. After the vision, what is really key is that you have a customer-centric or a stakeholder-centric, if you make it a little bit broader, process defined. Why is that? Customer experience is key. If your customers are not buying your products, we all know what's happening next. You run out of business. If your stakeholders don't like working with you, what do? They might walk away, or if they don't like doing business with you, like in procurement, if the process is for suppliers a pain, they might not really bring you the innovation or the latest insights, what helps you. Therefore, I'm a very strong believer that the first step is focusing on the stakeholder-centric process. Derived from that, you should look in the right structure, in the best organizational setup, and look for the right roles for your people to drive really the performance. And then followed by that, you need to have systems. You need to have analytics. You need to have a certain level of automation. You don't want to have people in shared services sitting in front of 2 screens. That's what I had to explain to my boss, the group CFO at SAP, once in a while back. Basically, why do we need 2 screens for all the people in shared services? The reason for that, and you might know that, on the left screen, you see a scanned document. On the right screen, you have an SAP ERP system, and you need to do this, the typing, looking left and transferring information. That's not really value-generating activities. Machines can do this much better, and therefore, you need also to think about the right level of automation. Let's not forget the last step, people and the adoption. You can have the greatest process in the right organization with fantastic systems accompanied. If the people not adapting the solutions, it does not add value. And therefore, you need really to have a holistic perspective in how you want to drive your digital transformation. And this is, and you mentioned the industries, absolutely. I know you are based out of Australia. I worked for lots of companies in Australia. It's mainly predominantly public sector in Australia. What I have experience with, and we all know how strong the public sector is in Down Under. I worked in Asia, in Europe, of course. I'm a German, as you can hear from my strong accent, so sorry for that. Even my almost 3 years in Atlanta, Georgia, didn't help to get rid of the accent. And I've also experienced working in Africa, North America, and South America. So all the different industries, because processes is one thing what combines everyone and what keeps basically the world running.
Great. That's amazing. And for those organizations that don't have a good handle on their processes, Why is that? I'm sure that having worked at SAP and Celonis, you would have come across organizations where they're not really managing their processes. They don't really know what's going on. Obviously, the more regulated industries like the banks, that they're pretty much forced to, otherwise the auditors are coming to check on them. But why do you feel like sometimes particularly large organizations struggle to manage their processes?
I think there's on the one side a certain dynamic. When you start something, you might say, hey, there's a template approach. When you are setting up an ERP system, you get a standard process. But very soon, and this was a kind of business model, you learn also, oh, we can customize, we can add more convenient for some specific purpose we have. And this is one learning what I got, that across all the industries, from public sectors to banking to industry players, to process industry and all the other industries, even sports, you could include here. In the past, you got educated that basically make every process fit for your purpose, that it is best for your company. Why? Because you had on-premise systems, and an on-premise system is basically like a naked system. You can even compare it with an iPhone. You get it, but if no data are on it, okay, what is it used for? Probably you can make a call if you have a SIM card and use some basic functionality, but then it starts with the apps and the different setup, what you do. And this is exactly what was easy to do and part of the game by implementing an ERP system. But basically, this also led to very high complexity. And here's one step in addition. Here's another thing. We could probably test it out. One country has a great idea because this fits very well for their purpose. And so you came to very heterogeneous landscape on your processes, on your systems. Some were really good, but little were really adding so much value that the additional complexities this causes is really what you can do in the future by knowing that on-premise was the past, cloud is the future, and cloud means standardization. There's only one Gmail what you use. There's one Google. Facebook has certain standards. Even if you, as an individual, can bring in your personality and share whatever you like, but basically you do this within a defined standard. The same for Amazon, Alibaba, and other players. So therefore, I think it's time to rethink how you define the processes and how you benefit also from the standardization, and by that, a very high automation comes with it. I hope it was not too long, but I think this is definitely, you're speaking, and I'm speaking out of my heart by that, because I see that the complex processes is definitely something you should rethink and might want to standardize it to the level where it really fits your purpose best.
Yes, that's great. And it reminds me of conversation I was having the other day where if the organization isn't customer centric or focused on making the processes simple for the customer, they tend to be focusing more on making it super simple for the business or the back end. But in turn, that makes it more complex for the customers, for the ones that you're trying to bring in. And I'm sure that we've both had experiences, and for the people that will be listening to this have had experiences where, you're trying to deal with an organization where it just feels like you're running around in circles, or the customer journey, the customer experience is a bit scattered and all over the place. Whereas then you deal with like an Uber or an Airbnb or one of these sort of disruptor or startup companies, and the process seems so seamless, so intuitive. Of course, we want to do business with the organizations that make it easier for us as consumers.
Correct. I couldn't agree more. Standardization is key, and make it really customer-centric that users love it. Uber, Airbnb, beautiful examples you have brought up. I couldn't agree more on that.
Yeah, that's great. And having looked at the last 18 months or so, obviously the pandemic has turned the world on upside down, so to speak, and made the business landscape very difficult and challenging for some organizations. For other organizations, it's forced them to pivot and adapt. And for some, they've actually I guess, received or delivered a lot of value or changed their approach and untapped new markets and things like that. But over the last 18 months, how has process mining or process management, or maybe in particular process mining, played a part in how organizations have navigated the last 18 months?
I think one thing what we learned during the last 18 months of the pandemic is definitely a leapfrog into digital transformation and leveraging new technologies. It's not really that they are entirely new, but how goes the saying? Never miss the opportunity of a good crisis. They are winners. We are on a Zoom call right now. Zoom is a beautiful example on that. A lot of cloud services are another great example. And by that, companies learned that, hey, we can do much more in a remote basis, in a virtual setup. I honestly, I couldn't agree more. On the other side, of course, I miss also the direct connect, meeting people, having interviews like with you in person, walking around at a conference, get great inspirations and have conversations about new things, trends, developments with other people. I miss that, but nevertheless, it is amazing also seeing how much we can do in a virtual setup. And this is exactly also where we see, and now coming back to your question about what does this do for processes? We have also seen that, wow, more cloud, more standardization, it is possible to do. Thinking about really the customer-centric approach on a setup for processes, this makes a lot of sense. And therefore, what we see right now is that companies are getting full visibility and transparency about an end-to-end process. Why is that? We learned also another thing during the pandemic, and I'm working in supply chain and procurement, that basically the disruption of a supply chain can be a really tough thing. If a city like Wuhan in the Hubei area in China gets shut down, what happened beginning of last year, we see, oh, wow, what is it all what gets produced out there? And I'm impacted. I was not even aware that Wuhan is a city where the stuff I'm getting, probably not directly, but from a supplier who is dependent on deliveries and products from that area, I might run out of production. Or new things coming up like the face mask. We are in the meantime used to it. There was a shortage all over in the world. Another disruption we have seen more recently is the Suez Canal, when the Evergreen got stuck in the Suez Canal. And by that we learned, oh wow, entire traffic between Asia on the one side and Europe on the other side, it is blocked. There are no ships going through anymore. And what we learned is, and here it comes and goes back to the process side, we learned also we need visibility. We need to have transparency in every single step of the processes. We need to know, where do we get the products from? We also need to know not only the tier one suppliers we are directly contracting with, we also need to know, oh wow, they might be impacted by tier 2 suppliers or tier 3 suppliers, and we need better to understand. And you only can do this if you have visibility and transparency into your end-to-end processes. And this includes also the connected business partners you are doing business with. And this is the reason why the process management side, the insights in processes, and you only can really drive this to the next level with business process intelligence. The reason for that is there's too much information out there that you as a human being can really digest and do this for thousands of suppliers. And if a tiny supplier is not delivering, we have seen this a few years back. There was Volkswagen, a German automotive company. Basically, they couldn't get seat covers, and there was a rubber part they needed to finish a car. 25,000 people basically had to stop work for a period of 4 to 6 months. And this really shows also, oh wow, it was a tiny part. And a seat cover, is it really so important having a seat cover? You can probably produce the rest. No, you can't. And therefore, you need to have transparency in every single step from the origination of the raw materials until the finished product at the end.
That's amazing. That's great. And for someone listening to this right now, where they might be from an organization where they don't have a handle on their processes, or they don't have that full transparency, where do you start? Where do you begin? How do you identify the core processes or the critical processes? I guess essentially the processes where, if you invest time, effort, and energy, you're going to get the best return on investment, or the quickest return on investment.
Daniel, that's really a great question, because on the one side, and probably a lot of people would now expect, hey, you need to start with the analytics, getting full transparency into the process. This is very important, but I would love to start one step earlier. What is really the process you want to have and you think is serving your customers, your clients best? And this is something different, because at the beginning, think about what is really needed, what adds the highest value. Then, of course, you need to look in the existing processes. The best thing what you can do, use software, use technology to really see the visualization of how your processes in ERP, non-ERP systems, probably even activities outside systems are looking end to end, and then ensure that you really have the next level of process standardization, harmonization by using the innovations available, and make the differences where it is needed, but basically try to stick to the standard. And therefore, you need technology, process mining technology, process analytics. There are great tools out there. There are great cloud solutions you can benefit from. What really counts is, after the visibility, that you also can consistently monitor and make changes in the backend systems. It might be an ERP system, it might be a connected cloud system, it might be something which is a homegrown solution which you still need to run your production, things like that. But what really counts is make the change lasting, and directly when you see there's a friction, there's a bottleneck in your process, how to resolve it. If you see, oh wow, something is not working, I have too many approval steps in the workflows, like I envisioned when I started looking into the processes at SAP for procurement. There were processes with 7 approval steps. This doesn't make any sense, and it takes too much time. So basically limited to 2. That's what we consistently did then. And things like that you only can do if you really get the full picture and then consistently monitor and make the changes lasting. But start really with the customer perspective, the stakeholder perspective at the beginning, and define what do you really want, what is needed, and get there as fast as you can and as automated as you can do.
That's great. And I love what you were saying earlier about that point about why transform. You got to understand what's your why, what's the purpose behind embarking on this transformation journey. Because I think if you have a clear understanding of why you're doing it, then that should motivate you and get you through all of the various stages of that transformation. Because I think, there's been many digital transformations in the past where they've gotten 12 months, 18 months, 2 years into the whole program. And it's run out of steam, or they forgot what the purpose of what's their end goal, what are they actually trying to achieve. So I loved what you were saying earlier about having a clear why. You got to understand why are you doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
That's great. That's great. And looking to the future now, so looking at the next 2, 3, 5 years, where should organizations be investing their time, effort, and energy when it comes to process management? Should they be traditionally, it's documenting processes has looked like bringing people into the same room and having long conversations about what do we think's actually happening. We've got process mining now, which is, it's a technology that, if you ask Will Vanderalt, he would say it's been around for 20 years, but it's probably more of a popular thing over the last couple of years. Where should organizations be investing? Should organizations be diving into analytical tools like process mining? Are there any sort of foundational elements that organizations should make sure they've got in place, like process ownership or process governance? Or what would you encourage organizations to do over the next 2, 3, 5 years?
Yeah, Daniel, I think first of all, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. So technology is not so new, but nevertheless, we see there's still a very high need to use it. My belief is that, and when I look at the current conversations, what we have, but also discussing the future vision and what companies are doing, basically you need to have business process intelligence. You need really to ensure that you understand end to end. How do you manage as a company your processes? You might need help, like from us as strategy consultants, to define really what do you want to do, what serves best your customers, and do this in an efficient and effective way. No doubt about that. But you need technology to consistently monitor it, optimize it, and then also ensure that you can further improve and also react fast, be agile on changes. There might be a new movie coming up now, James Bond, or in the future a Disney movie. What will be out there, and you might react soon. If you're in the consumer industry, you might have T-shirts, you might have certain advertisement products. You need to include this, and you only can do this with the right technology. There's another aspect I don't want to forget, and you mentioned governance and how to really ensure that process management is an integrated part of your organization. It is not just a tool. You need to make it lasting, and you only can make it lasting when you have really a very structured way in how you leverage the benefits of the insights and the technology you have access to for the better of your company. And dedicated process managers for quote to cash, for source to pay, for hire to retire. You could continue supply chain manufacturing processes and so on. You need to have people really looking in that, monitoring that. Technology in the future might help you, that you probably have a smartphone looking at that and, oh, wow, wonderful, I see alerts. Oh, there's a situation here in China, there might be a delay of my ship. I might even see in real time, look at my device, hey, oh wow, this container got stuck and there will be a delay of 3 days. If I know this when the ship is leaving, I can react. I might change something now and don't need to wait until I learn, oh, it's a Heber in Hamburg or Amsterdam, Rotterdam, it didn't arrive. So therefore, that's a big surprise, what to do now with contingency. So that's where technology is needed and will help you. And we see also a very fast pace of the evolution of software solutions like machine learning, artificial intelligence. We see connected devices helping you really to do the monitoring. All this is related to processes. Processes really connect the world and keep the world rolling, which is definitely the reason why you need to invest also in the right technologies, what helps you for your company and also to achieve the service level you want to achieve to sell your product successfully.
And talking about artificial intelligence and different technologies, innovative technologies moving forward, are we going to be seeing some sort of process mining cross RPA sort of solution where I guess this analytical tool will identify bottlenecks, but not just identify and present that information, but actually go ahead and make the changes to the bots so that you would have these processes updated in real time, depending on what data the information is reading. Do you think that's in the future, or do you think there are too many risks around that? If there are, exceptions, or who knows what scenarios it could be, it could be appropriate for. But yeah, I guess it's just a thought. Like, where is this technology heading? Is it going to be that clever or that smart that it's going to change processes in real time?
Predictions are difficult, especially about the future. It was not me saying that. That's more Winston Churchill, Mark Twain, or Niels Bohr this quote is associated with. But you're perfectly right. you need really to think about the future evolution, what helps you best, and also you need to make big bets on what is the technology really helping you. I'm a strong believer that really a more integrated way in having end-to-end views on processes, on the right systems, definitely helps you to monitor, track, and also make lasting changes. RPA, I think it's a great technology to help you automating something what is broken today. But I wouldn't say that this is a technology which will last for a long time, because you're fixing something which is not integrated, which is not connected right now. And the robot can do a fantastic job, don't get me wrong on that. But I'm more a believer that machine learning and technology really understanding also certain steps. We need to be careful with the term artificial intelligence, because you can ask a very fair question about what is really the intelligence side out of that. But at least we have dynamic algorithms which can help you to drive your performance in a better way. And therefore, technology is the right thing to do that. You should start early with the use cases helping you best. So don't just invest in technology. Oh, wow, everyone is talking about robotics, process automation. I buy a few robots. You can download them, by the way, with the big providers within minutes to get some recommendations on integrating it in systems and make some changes. Perfect. But basically, think about it. You are still having a quick fix for something which is not integrating yet. Think also about how do you want to resolve it in the future. And therefore, technology is absolutely key. And the transparency, what process mining, business process intelligence can provide you with, is the right way in really overseeing the processes, measuring the performance, and also reacting fast to come up with a roadmap, when to do which changes, with an ERP implementation, with something new you want to do, with another cloud solution, with some tools, with machine learning. So that's exactly what you can derive from that, but do it based on the business case, on the use case, helping you to add value to your organization.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure that for the people that will be listening to this, you're sparking a lot of ideas and innovative thoughts around what they can be doing in their organizations, what should they be thinking about. But I guess for those people listening that maybe you've left them with a couple of questions, where do they, I guess, follow you, follow your journey, get in touch with you, connect with you?
So, great question. Please reach out to me if you have questions. Marcell Vollmer on LinkedIn. You will find me there. mvollmer1 is my Twitter handle, and very happy to connect. And I hope we all will have a beautiful future. We will see the benefits of technology, and keep in mind the processes can add probably a lot of value. You might want to look into that. And I think, as mentioned, processes keep the world rolling. So let's keep your business moving to the next level by focusing on the right things in the future to do.
That's fantastic. Well, Marcell, I just want to thank you for sitting down with me and having this conversation today. You've certainly expanded my mind and my thinking, and I know it's going to do the same for the audience as well. So thanks for catching up with me today.
Daniel, great pleasure. You're welcome. Highly appreciate your feedback and the opportunity. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.